Hello, this is Ron Clymer at Clymer School of Real Estate in Orlando, Florida. And I'm here to talk to you again, not about something that's on the Florida real estate exam, but about something that'll just help you. As you know, in our last session, we were talking about Napoleon Hill's philosophies of success. And this is his fifth principle of success. It's going the extra mile. It's doing more than you're paid to do. It's being more than you're expected to do. And I believe this is true. If you will form the habit of going the extra mile, I'll make you a couple of promises. I promise you, you'll be paid for any effort that you ever extend. I promise you, you'll develop a stronger character from doing this. You'll be amazed how your attitude gets better. And your courage and your self-reliance will just get better. And you will never be looking for a job. Because if you got the habit of doing more than you paid for, number one, your old boss doesn't want to see you go. And number two, your new boss is looking for you. He's looking for you everywhere he goes. And so if you'll do this, now that might seem like a tall promise to make, but I'll tell you what, most people don't do what they're paid to do. Well, I take that back. People do what they're paid to do, but that's all they do. Most people think, that's not my job, never volunteer for anything. There's a book written, The Greatest Sales Management Principle in the World, that basically says people do what you pay them to do. But there's a few people, and they're that upper crust, that do more than they're paid to do. By the way, Mother Nature sets the rules. Mother Nature makes this obvious to us in nature. You go out in nature, Mother Nature doesn't give you one seed, she gives you 1,000 seeds. She doesn't give you one thing, she gives you a whole abundance of it. And that's the way I think that Mother Nature, whoever you perceive Mother Nature to be, to do that. But the younger you are, the more benefit you'll gain from forming this habit. But even if you're about halfway through life, if you haven't done this the first half of your life, well, start doing it now. And here are some of the useful and special benefits that you'll get if you start doing more for people than they're paid to do. You know, if you're getting a $10,000 commission, give them $15,000 worth of service. You know, if you're getting a $1,000 fee, give them $1,500 worth of whatever you do. If you're making an income, a salaried income, if you're doing $20, you're being paid $20 an hour, make sure your boss is getting $30 an hour worth from you, and he knows it. It'll become very obvious to him. It's not like a secret. But here's the deal. It'll cause the law of increasing returns to become your friend. Now, the law of increasing returns says you always get more back than you put in. And that's the law of nature, folks. It's the law of the universe. You always get more back than you put in. You sit in front of the fire and say, give me some heat. The fire's not going to give you heat. You got to put wood in. But you put the wood in, you'll get the heat back. And you benefit from the law of compensation. Now, Ralph Waldo Emerson wrote an entire bajillion-word essay about the law of compensation. There's plenty of people written about the law of compensation. But the law of compensation has two corollaries. Number one, there ain't no free lunch. There ain't no free lunch. If you're going to get lunch, you got to work for it. It's a law of the universe. That's one thing. But the other thing, the reverse of that, is you can't expend effort and not get paid for it. So if you're a salaried person making X amount of dollars an hour and you extend that extra effort, the law of the universe, not your employer, the law of the universe says that you'll be paid for that. Now, it might not be your employer giving you a raise, although it might. It might be somebody else offering you a better job because they noticed you doing a good job and they notice that your boss is not paying you what you're worth. And they noticed that and said, hey, why don't you leave that guy and come to work for me? And this happens all the time. It happens all the time. And now, the next thing is you will attract the favorable attention of people, either your own boss or somebody else that has an opportunity. It makes you indispensable. You know, some people say there's no such thing as an indispensable employee. But I was talking to a guy just a couple of weeks ago, and he told me that one of his key employees left about 4 years ago. And he said it's just never been the same since she left. Well, you know, if the boss noticed it, I'll bet the customers noticed it too, and I'll bet the other employees noticed it too, and I'll bet he wishes he had her back or had met whatever demands it was she had that caused her to leave. And another thing that going the extra mile does, it leads to mental growth, personal development. And by the way, you got to have personal development. If you want to do more, earn more, you got to be more. And you do that with personal development. And going the extra mile causes that to happen. Going the extra mile turns the spotlight on you. And people notice you. You don't have to do anything. I mean, if you're out there doing a little bit extra for people, you're a little extra cheerful when you're the cashier, you're a little extra attentive when you're a real estate broker and you get the job done for people. And this is where personal initiative comes from. You have personal initiative when you're constantly forming the habit of going the extra mile. You say, what can I do to make this even better for this guy? Now, it also eliminates procrastination, which is the absolute enemy of success. And if you're in the going the extra mile habit, you're not going to go the extra mile mañana, next week, next month. You're going to do it right now. And it gives you the right to ask your boss for a raise. You know, if you're the bottom of the rung in the office, everybody in the office is selling more than you are. You don't need to be in there saying, boss, I need to get a raise. You know, of course, if you're on commission, you give yourself a raise. But even that, oftentimes there's bigger splits and different bonuses and stuff that you have when you're doing that. And so it gives you the right to ask for a promotion and create a reverse credit of goodwill, and you're entitled to more pay. Hold on, I'm in the middle of a video. I'll call you right back. Pardon me, I had my phone in my pocket. I forgot about that. But it gives you the right to ask your boss for a raise. He's not going to give you a raise if he's not getting more than he's paying. And by the way, if he is getting more than he's paying, he not only would feel the obligation to give you a raise, he'd be smart enough to know what I just told you. Somebody else is going to be offering you a job. They're not going to be offering Mr. Barely doing what I'm paying for him a job. Write this formula down. Write this formula down. I'm going to write it down. It's Q plus Q plus MA equals your success. Q being the quantity of service that you give people, Q being the quality of service that you give people, and MA being the mental attitude with which you give it. But if you give people more quantity than they ask, more quality than they expect, and you do it with a great attitude, folks, there's a law of the universe that says you have to be compensated. Now, you might not be compensated in money, although you might. You might be complicated in admiration. And a lot of people say, oh, who cares about that? And the answer is everybody cares about that. You might be compensated with an opportunity that knocks on your door instead of the door down the hall. And remember this, form the habit of going the extra mile. There's no free lunch, but the reverse of that, you can't work without compensation coming your way. Go the extra mile. If we can help you with anything to do with getting a real estate license, give us a call. Thanks.